Hello? Hey, I just want to say something real quick. If you're here right now, whether you've been around for a bit or this is your first time clicking, I appreciate it. I really do. The fact that you're showing up, that you're here, that you're willing to sit with whatever this is, that means something. So, yeah, welcome. Let's get into it. Okay, so there's this thing that happens. And I need you to stay with me on this because it's not what you think it is. It's not about them choosing someone else. It's not even really about you being second choice. It's something deeper than that. Um, something that most people don't talk about because it's uncomfortable, because it requires you to see something you might not want to see. But you're here, so I'm guessing you're ready, or at least you're ready to consider it. There's someone, and they chose a version of something over the reality of you, over what's actually real, over what's actually here. And I know how that feels. I know how it sits in your chest, heavy, confusing. Like, how? How do you choose a shadow when there's something solid right in front of you? Does that make sense to you? And here's where it gets tricky. Here's where most people get stuck. Because the natural response is to think, okay, what's wrong with me? What does that person have that I don't? Why wasn't I enough? Why wasn't reality enough? But that's not, um, wait, that's not actually the question. That's not where the truth is. The truth is in understanding what a shadow actually is, what it represents, what it does for someone who's not ready for reality yet. Have you noticed that too? A shadow. It's easier. It's safer. It doesn't ask anything real of you. It doesn't require you to show up fully. It doesn't challenge you. It doesn't push you to grow or face yourself or be accountable. A shadow is whatever you need it to be in your mind. It's a projection, it's a fantasy, it's a escape from having to deal with what's actually in front of you. And when someone chooses that, when someone chooses the shadow over you, over the reality of what you're offering, it's not because the shadow is better. It's because they're not capable of holding what's real yet. Tell me in the comments if this feels familiar. And I know that sounds like a consolation prize explanation, like something people say to make you feel better when you've been passed over. But it's not. It's actually the truth of what's happening. Because think about it. Reality requires presence. It requires honesty. It requires you to show up as you actually are, not as you wish you were or as you pretend to be. Reality has flaws. It has complexity. It has days where things are hard and conversations that are uncomfortable and moments where you have to choose to stay even when it's not easy. A shadow doesn't have any of that. A shadow is perfect because it's not real. It's an idea. It's a possibility that never has to be tested. It's a version of connection that doesn't require vulnerability or risk or actual intimacy. And for some people, that's all they can handle right now. That's where they are in their process. They're not ready for reality. They're not ready for something solid and present and demanding of their actual participation. Does that make sense to you? So they choose the shadow. They choose the fantasy. They choose the thing that lets them stay comfortable, stay hidden, stay protected from having to really be seen or to really see someone else. And you become the one they come back to, not because you're a backup plan, not because you're second choice, but because you represent something they know is real, something they know is solid, something that part of them recognizes is what they actually need, even if they're not ready to choose it yet. Have you noticed that pattern? And here's the thing that's really hard to sit with. You can't make someone ready for reality. You can't convince someone to choose substance over shadow. You can't logic them into seeing that what you're offering is more real, more valuable, more worthy than whatever fantasy they're chasing. They have to get there themselves. They have to exhaust the shadow. They have to realize on their own that it's not feeding them, that it's not real, that it can't actually give them what they need. And maybe they will. Maybe they'll come back. Maybe they'll realize. Maybe they'll grow into someone who can actually hold what you represent. But maybe they won't. And that's where you have to make a choice about whether you're willing to be the reality someone keeps coming back to while they're still chasing shadows. Whether you're willing to wait for someone to be ready for what you've been ready for all along. Tell me in the comments if this feels familiar. And I think what's important to understand is that being the one they come back to isn't actually a compliment if you're the one waiting while they explore everything else. It's not flattering to be the safe harbor someone returns to between storms they voluntarily sail into, because what that means is they see you. They know what you offer. They recognize the reality of what's there, and they're still choosing something else. They're still choosing the shadow because they're not ready, not willing, not capable of being with what's real. And you being available every time they come back, it's not helping them grow. It's not helping you grow. It's maintaining a pattern where they get to have both, the fantasy and the reality, the shadow and the substance, without having to actually choose. Does that make sense to you? So the question isn't really about them. The question is about you, about what you're willing to accept, about how long you're willing to be the reality someone keeps putting on hold while they chase something that isn't real. Because you can't control their choice. You can't force them to see what you see. You can't make them ready for something they're not ready for. But you can control your own choice. You can decide whether you're willing to stay available to someone who keeps choosing shadows over you, whether you're willing to be the one they come back to when the fantasy inevitably fails. And maybe the answer is yes. Maybe you're willing to wait. Maybe you believe they'll get there. Maybe you see something in them that makes it worth it. But maybe the answer is no. Maybe you're realizing that being someone's reality while they chase shadows, it's actually diminishing you. It's actually keeping you stuck. It's actually preventing you from being available to someone who's already ready, who doesn't need to exhaust fantasies before choosing what's real. Have you noticed that tension in yourself? And I don't think there's a right answer. I don't think anyone can tell you what to do in this situation, because only you know what it feels like to be in it. Only you know the specific dynamics. Only you know whether this person is actually growing or just cycling through the same patterns. But what I do know is that you deserve to be chosen. Not eventually, not after someone has tried everything else, not as the safe option they return to when the exciting option doesn't work out. You deserve to be chosen as the first choice, as the obvious choice, as the choice someone makes because they recognize what's real and they're ready for it and they want it more than they want the comfort of fantasy. And if that's not what's happening, if you're watching someone choose a shadow over the reality of you, then you have to ask yourself why you're still making yourself available. Not in a judgmental way. Not in a way that makes you wrong for caring or for hoping or for seeing potential in someone, but in a way that's honest, in a way that's protective of your own worth, in a way that recognizes that your presence, your reality, your availability, it has value, real value. And it shouldn't be something you give to people who aren't ready to receive it. Does that make sense to you? Because here's what happens when you keep being available to someone who chooses shadows. You start to dim your own reality. You start to make yourself smaller, more palatable, less demanding. you start to compete with a fantasy, which is impossible because fantasies don't have the limitations that reality has. And in trying to compete, you lose yourself. You lose the very thing that makes you real, that makes you solid, that makes you valuable. You become a shadow of yourself, trying to win against someone else's shadow. And that's not what you're here for. That's not your purpose. That's not the relationship you deserve to be in. Tell me in the comments if this feels familiar. So maybe the truth about being the one they come back to, it's not about whether they'll eventually choose you. It's about whether you're going to keep being available to be come back to. Whether you're going to keep holding space for someone who isn't holding space for you. Whether you're going to keep being the reality someone runs to when their fantasies fail, only to watch them run back to the next fantasy when they feel safe again. Or whether you're going to choose yourself, choose your own reality, choose to be available to people who are already ready, who don't need to chase shadows to appreciate substance. And I know that's hard. I know it feels like giving up. I know it feels like closing a door on someone you care about, someone you believe in, someone you've invested in, but it's not giving up. It's actually honoring yourself. It's recognizing that you can't love someone into readiness. You can't wait someone into choosing you. You can't be patient enough to make someone see what they're not willing to see. All you can do is decide what you're willing to accept, what you're available for, what kind of relationship you want to be in. And if being the one they come back to doesn't feel good, if it feels like you're waiting, hoping, diminishing yourself, then maybe it's time to stop being available to come back to. Not out of anger, not out of bitterness, but out of self-respect. Out of recognition that you deserve to be someone's first choice, not their safe fallback. Does that make sense to you? So yeah, that's what I'm seeing right now. Someone chose a shadow over the reality of you, and you're trying to understand it, trying to make sense of it, trying to figure out if you should wait, if you should stay available, if you should be the one they come back to. And only you can answer that. Only you know what feels right in your specific situation. But what I want you to consider is this. What are you actually waiting for? What would have to change for this to feel different? And is that change something this person is actually working toward, or is it just something you're hoping will happen eventually? Because hope without evidence, it can keep you stuck for a very long time. And you deserve more than being stuck. You deserve more than being the reality someone keeps choosing to leave. You deserve to be chosen fully, clearly, without hesitation. And if that's not what's happening, maybe it's time to choose yourself instead. I don't sell futures. I build architects. No predictions, just the raw truth for the tough ones. Stay magic. Stay in the now.